welcome. It's Wednesday, April 23rd, 2025. We're in Studio 6A today. It's my pleasure and honor to be speaking with a true World War II combat hero, Mr. John J. Jeckovich. How are you doing today?
Good, very good.
I heard you had a busy house.
Oh, yeah.
Who came the first time? Chris and his wife? And
Yeah.
And who else came with all his kids?
Then Mary came after that. Yeah. Amber, yeah.
So how is Chris doing? He's on his way back?
Yeah, he's driving home now.
Well, we wish Chris and Faith safe travels. He's a very nice person, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they came visit Mr. Jeckovich before they left back for New York. And they're a very nice, wonderful family. And then after that, you had Amber Nicole Jeckovich visit you.
Yeah.
Wow. And today you became a great-grandfather. Your grandson, Zach Logan Jeckovich, just had a baby girl.
Yeah.
Named Lily. So you had a lot going on at home today.
Yeah.
You had a hell of a lot going on. Wow. Most people wish they had busy days like that. And besides, did you have a nice dinner?
Oh, yeah.
See, what the hell? You got it made. You beat the system. So here we are. We're reading Mr. Jeckovich's book the second time around. We're on chapter 5, and he's visiting his new girlfriend, Ann Mahaney, in Owensboro, Kentucky, while he has passes from basic training in Evansville, Indiana. So before I read, I have to get the password to my laptop, which is your dog tag number.
42965.
Yeah, that's amazing. 90 years ago, his dog tag number, he still remembers. That's amazing. So everything's going good for you today, huh?
Pardon?
Everything's going good for you today, then, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So we're reading the book, and he's visiting a fine young lady named Ann Mahaney. And then later he had a girlfriend named, she was from
Owensboro.
that's Owensboro's Ann Mahaney. Then you had a beautiful girlfriend
In France.
named Renee from Paris, France.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Jean Rowan Young from Wales.
Yeah.
Haverford West. Interesting story about his second or third girlfriend, Jean Rowan Young, for Haverford West. We found all the rest of the girls. It was amazing how we found. They're all ladies, all in their 90s and older. But the only one we haven't located was a very nice lady, and Jean Rowan Young, and she lived in Haverford West. We sent down people to the old house there in Wales, couldn't find her. In fact, we also had the Daily Mail, which has a delivery rate of about 1 million per day. We had them write a full-page story with some type of reward to find Jean Rowan Young, and so far we haven't found her. So if anyone knows the Jean Rowan Young family at Haverford West, we really appreciate a text. That's the only one that we had a hard time locating. But then we moved on to Renee, which was a former nun. She was in the convent in France, and they got word that her young mother and father, which was probably in their 40s, was killed and tortured by the Nazis during World War II, when the Nazis occupied France for 5 long years. And then she also got a second text, she got a second message in the convent, the Roman Catholic convent, outside of Paris, France, that her 2 young teenage brothers were also killed and tortured by the Nazis. And so she questioned her faith. She left the convent, and that's when she met Mr. Jeckovich. She was a great artist, right?
Yeah.
A great artist. And she'd be painting the portraits of the high-ranking Nazi officers.
Yeah.
And when you first met her and you went into her apartment, what did you see?
Pictures of Nazis all over, big type generals.
Yeah. And why did she do that?
Well, she was doing it for the money, plus she was doing it for what she get out of the German soldiers talking.
So she joined the French resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was painting the portraits of the high-ranking SS and Nazi officers to see if she could gather some information.
Well, they found her out though.
Wait, before you tell me that story, but did you go down to the French resistance office?
Yeah, it was down in the cellar.
And how was it?
Stinky down there.
It was bad.
Yeah.
So finally, the plan of gaining information from the Nazi and SS officers didn't work out too well. What happened?
They took her out and shot her.
Yeah. Took her out and shot her. Well, eventually, the American Army, when they got to Paris, and they ran out the Nazis, they ran every one of them out, but they did occupy it for 5 years. So I'm going to read a couple notes that we marked down out of the French resistance, and some random facts, because it always plays into the same story. And here's some ideas also about Britain that we probably weren't aware of that Mr. Jeckovich spoke of. Shortages in Britain were so severe that the British soldiers were rationed 3 sheets of toilet paper per day. During the food rationing, which was very hard in Britain, right?
Oh, yeah.
Everything was, it was worse than the United States Great Depression in 1929. During the food rationing, one British biologist became so hungry that he ate the laboratory rat.
Oh, Jesus.
The Princess of England was a driver and mechanic during World War II. You might know her. Her name is Elizabeth, and she just died. And she was a young girl, and during World War II, everyone participated. She was a driver and a mechanic during World War II. Yeah. Hitler apparently hated lipstick and thought it detracted from natural beauty. As such, British women were encouraged to wear bright red lipstick and overdrawn lips. Even while other cosmetics were rationed, red lipstick was considered important enough to the morale to be not to be restricted. So they did everything they can to irritate Hitler.
Yeah.
For example, when Hitler was occupying Paris, he wanted to go up to the top of the Eiffel Tower. And the guys that run the Eiffel Tower are also from Paris. They weren't Nazis. And when Hitler wanted to go up, they told Hitler that the elevator was busted.
Yeah.
So he had to find his way to walk up. During the Blitz, British officials expected a widespread panic, suicide attempts, and mental illness. They even opened special clinics for shock victims. However, those clinics closed because the demand was so low. British civilians, I believe, were very tough. British civilians were so determined to get through the war that they did not allow their minds to deteriorate during the bombings.
Yeah.
So the government thought the civilians were to crack up.
Yeah.
Thousands
They stood up, yeah.
And they didn't. They were tough.
Yeah, they stayed in the dugouts all the time.
Yeah. The London Underground system was one of the best and most popular bombing shelters. About 150,000 people slept in the shelters every night.
Oh, yeah.
Could you imagine 150,000 people crammed into all those shelters?
Yeah.
The stink. Nothing to
Yeah. And getting bombed over the top.
eat. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Here's another interesting fact. German was famous for its crazy ideas for weapons and tactics, but Britain had its own fair share. Project Habakkuk was a British plan, believe this how crazy this is, was a British plan to build an aircraft carrier entirely out of ice and wood pulp. It was planned in Alberta, Canada, where temperatures regularly fell below 40 degrees Celsius, but was eventually shelved for being so expensive. In 1940, France had a bigger military than Germany with more manpower and more weaponry, but they still lost.
Yeah.
They gave up the
Yeah, they didn't give a good fight. They didn't give a good fight, no.
In spite of France's superior numbers, the Battle of France lasted only 46 days before they were crushed by the German forces.
Yeah.
Did you work with many soldiers from France?
No, no.
I wonder if they were good fighting soldiers.
Well, probably for their country they were, yeah.
Okay, here's something pertaining to Renee you made a note of. The French resistance, which your friend Renee was in, adopted the cross of Lorraine as their symbol. The cross with two horizontal bars. They were the first ones to use the cross of Lorraine. A variation of two armed crosses appeared on the coat of arms of Joan of Arc. Very interesting. Prior to World War II, feminism was popular in France, but both the Nazis had strict ideas about the roles of women. That is, they should stay at home and make a lot of babies. While the French resistance wasn't exactly pro-feminist, some women did join it to try to prevent a backward slide into limiting the ideas of womanhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another important point you said. The southern United States, especially Louisiana, had a large Cajun population made up of French Canadians who had been deported almost 200 years earlier. Cajuns, they still have a great accent in Louisiana.
Yeah.
That Cajun accent, you can't understand them.
Yeah.
And they've been deported like probably 300 years now. Cajuns in the United States Army could collaborate with the French in order to provide American support to the resistance. One of the ways that the French resisted the Germans was the economy. French coal miners went on strike, stopping the deliveries of coal that were being forced to send to Germany. Here's an interesting part. Winston Churchill was very outspoken.
Yeah.
He said what he had on his mind, right?
Yeah.
Winston Churchill was elected Prime Minister of Britain once the war broke out. He was known for his brash personality, right? Which was why he was such a popular choice. He spoke what was on his mind. Right?
Yeah.
Urban legend has it that a woman once told Churchill, this is what the lady told Churchill, "If you were my husband, I would poison your food."
Yeah.
That's what a lady told Churchill. And his response was, to which he responded, Churchill responded, "Madame, if I were your husband, I would eat it." So he shot it right back. That guy had some lines. One French resistance fighter died from eating plastic explosives, which he mistook for cheese. Spain was supposed to be neutral during World War II, but they had no qualms about helping liberate France from the Germans. Muslims were not targeted by the Nazis in the way the Jews were. The Mosque of Paris gave Jewish citizens Muslim identification papers to protect them. In 1940, the armistice between France and Germany was signed in the same railroad carriage in which Germany had signed a surrender after World War II. And finally, before World War II, France was in the same time zone as England.
Yeah.
When Germany occupied it, they forced France to change its time zone, be the same one as in Germany. And this is still how it is today.
Yeah. Well, that was good. They did a good thing there.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich was a World War II combat veteran in Company H, the 2nd Battalion of the 291st Regiment of the 75th Infantry Division of the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Jeckovich lives by the motto, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, and today is a gift," right?
Yeah.
Today is a gift. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. By the way, during World War II, there were 16,400,000 young American men and women participating in the war. 16,400,000 gladly served during World War II. Now, in combat divisions, the infantry, we have less than 6,000 combat soldiers left. We're losing them at a rate of 150 a day. So if you have any questions for a true combat infantryman, Mr. John J. Jeckovich, text us now at 407-306. Text us now at 407-366-0000. Text Mr. John J. Jeckovich now at 407-366-0000. Mr. Jeckovich's mind is like a library, and you can ask him any or text him any questions from A to Z. It does not have to be on a war. It could also be, say, marriage. How many years were you married?
69.
Yeah. Mr. Jeckovich was married for 69 long years, right?
Right.
He proposed to his future wife at the Roman Catholic Basilica in Tonawanda, New York. He asked for her hand in marriage, and she accepted, and they walked up to the altar in the Basilica and said a short prayer asking God to give them, Jesus, to give them a long and happy marriage.
69 years.
I guess it worked. I guess your prayers were answered. So if you have any questions pertaining to anything from A to Z, just text Mr. Jeckovich, and he'd certainly be glad to answer them. But marriage is a good topic. You can ask any questions you like, due to the fact in Florida alone last year, we had 90,000 divorces.
Yeah.
Primarily
For money.
money.
Yeah.
So here's some notes I extracted from Mr. Jeckovich's book, from various chapters about marriage, how to have a nice marriage. Communicate openly and often. Don't assume, ask. Never stop dating your spouse. Be quick to forgive and slow to anger, right?
Yeah.
Don't keep score. Marriage isn't a competition. These are all good rules to go by. Respect each other even in disagreement. Prioritize your partner over everything. Prioritize your partner over everything else. Celebrate each other's growth and wins. Speak kindly. Your words shape your relationship. How true is that? Be honest when it's hard. Be honest when it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Just put it out there. Hey, lay it on the table. Because remember, what goes behind closed door, always comes to the light of day. So put it out there, whatever it is, put it out there. Straighten it out, lay it right on the table. Keep physical intimacy alive. It builds closeness. Make big decisions together. That means don't the husband just decide to buy a house. Make it be a joint thing, or a car or something like that. Big purchases. Have each other's back in public and private. Laugh often. It lightens every burden. Apologize when you're wrong, not just when you're caught. That's a good point. Apologize when you're wrong. Step it up. Not just when you're caught. Choose love daily, especially on hard days. And some more notes about marriage. Always say I love you before ending the day. Didn't you have around your house hundreds of notes you left and wrote to your wife?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Little tabs I read, yeah.
Yeah. And that's leaving these notes. Never involve outsiders in your private issues. That's very important. Never invite outsiders to your private issues. What happens is many of these ladies are spending more time at work than with their husband. And if they have a complaint about the husband, the first thing they do is they talk to the man they're working with, which is bad.
Yeah.
You don't do it. You don't do it. You simply don't do that. Show appreciation for the little things. Give each other space to grow individually. Space is important. Get yourself a big house and give yourself space. Support each other's dreams and goals. Don't compare your marriage to others, which is stupid. Don't compare it. Please don't. That's bad news. Be your partner's peace, not their stress. Yeah, be your partner's peace, not their stress. Many times it's stress. It's bad. Be present, not just physically, but emotionally. Talk about money openly and plan together. There we go. 90,000 divorces in Florida, all about money. Handle problems as a team, not as opponents.
Yeah.
Flirt with your spouse like you just met. Celebrate anniversaries, no matter how small. Learn each other's love language and speak it often. And most important, when Mr. Jeckovich was in a basilica asking Delphine Stulak for her hand in marriage, they did this in the Roman Catholic Basilica of Tonawanda, New York. And finally, keep God at the center of your bond. That'll do it right there.
Yeah.
So there are some notes. Can I have some minutes, please?
Just under 9.
Okay, now we're on page 92, getting to know you. You're at basic training, but in Evansville, Indiana, but you are visiting a girlfriend named Ann Mahaney in Owensboro, Kentucky, and you just got done meeting her mom. So we'll continue. The battalion was going on a 2-day bivouac under simulated combat conditions. We would try to duplicate actual battlefield situations with an aggressor force, which was actually consisted of soldiers from another regiment. The company was driven several miles from camp and dropped off at a staging area, the jumping off point for our exercise. Here we received our instructions and a mission assigned to our platoon. How many members in a platoon?
300.
Our task was to reconnect the area several miles in depth and report any enemy activity. Also to siege strategically held town used by the enemy as an observation facility. Our section was to aid in the occupation of the town and give support to the Fox Company, which was to make the initial assault and set up a secure perimeter around town, keeping enemy forces out. We came up on the objective Fox Company, planned the method of attack. We were attached to one platoon of company to give supporting fire, which they made the assault. Sergeant Flood, how was Sergeant Flood?
He was a good guy, yeah.
Sergeant Flood placed our 4 machine guns in a field of fire pattern and gave them maximum support to the attacking rifle platoons. So you were a heavy operator of machine guns, right?
Yeah.
On this trial that you're doing right now, do you have real bullets in those machine guns?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Did anyone get hurt from
No.
the team?
No.
Okay. As a designated time of departure, the entire operation kicked off and appeared that everything went well. We were naturally flying blanks, so for a time there was a great deal of noise and confusion as there were also under any real thing combat. I became so engrossed in the exercise that for a while my mind was taken off of Ann. We performed our segment of the operation
But
flawlessly.
don't forget, we're crawling on our stomach. We're not up. We're sitting, crawling with the blood.
Oh yeah, explain
And they
that.
were shooting over our heads.
Oh wow.
Tracers.
Right over your head.
Yeah, tracers.
Yeah, that must have been scary. We performed our segment of the operation flawlessly, and Captain Goodnight. How was Captain Goodnight?
Yeah.
How was
Captain Goodnight. He didn't go over with us, though.
Okay. And even commend us personally. Sergeant Flood was pleased as expected. He remarked to me that I was back to my old self and I did a good job and said to keep up the good work. Sergeant Flood favored me to an extent as I did what was expected of me. I did not need too much supervision, but usually took the initiative and followed through the assigned task.
Yeah.
He often told me that if I kept my nose clean and my mouth shut, yeah, I would amount to something in this man's army.
Yeah.
That was good advice, right?
Yeah.
Keep your nose clean, your mouth shut.
Yeah.
I knew for a fact that before I had started to follow up, I was on the short list for any possible promotion. That night we ate chow at the field kitchen, set it up in a small hollow. How was food in the army?
Good, very good. They could cook anywhere. Those guys could
Did
cook
you see on that
anywhere.
aircraft carrier the food?
Yeah.
These
Oh, yeah.
things. 18,200 meals a day.
Yeah, boy.
I thought my life in the army. I thought about my life in the army. It had been good to me considering everything in my past life. Where but in the army could I have done what I've experienced up to now? At home I'd probably be still working at Croysdale, going home at night and concentrating on my immediate family. Strangely enough, I had not thought of my mother or sister for the longest period. I thought of them now in a more quiet, serene manner and did not postulate constantly about them, what they were doing and how they were coping with being there. Okay, how much minutes do we have here? Because I know I have a lot of text messages from Mr. Jeckovich. How many minutes do we got?
3.5.
Huh?
3.5.
Mr. Jeckovich, you feel like answering any questions?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Let's see what we got here. Mr. Jeckovich, what is your outlook on life?
Outlook positive.
Positive, yes. Wow. What's your favorite fruit, Mr. Jeckovich?
The famous what?
What's your favorite fruit?
Fruit.
Yeah.
Grapes.
Grapes, okay. Are you a good artist?
A good artist?
Yeah.
Painting, you mean?
Yeah.
No.
Was Renee a good artist?
Who?
Renee, from Paris.
Oh, yeah, she pointed faces.
You said she painted your portrait. Where is it?
I got wrapped up in a towel someplace.
Okay. Are you a workaholic?
Workaholic, probably, yeah.
Yeah. Do you believe in turning the other cheek?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any nicknames?
Nicknames?
Yeah.
Jack, that's all. Jack.
Jack? Okay.
Yeah.
What was your worst vacation memory?
Vacation?
Worst vacation memory?
You mean at home with the family?
Yeah, when you went on vacation at home, what was your worst?
With the family?
Yeah, what was your worst vacation that you had?
Well, radiator went back in the truck and I had to put a new radiator in there.
Where were you then?
We were home and we were going to leave that morning and then find out the radiator was shut.
Okay. When you were a boy, kids back then entertained themselves with, not like the kids are entertaining themselves today. They're usually outside. But when you were a boy, did you jump rope?
No.
No. I know you mentioned you went to Crystal Beach. What was your favorite ride at the amusement park at Crystal Beach?
Crystal Beach? The Ferris wheel.
Ferris wheel, okay.
1 minute and 16 seconds.
You hear it on the news all the time. Do you think Bigfoot is real?
Wait, what?
Bigfoot is real.
No. No.
So when you were living in Niagara Falls, what did you do as a boy? Where did you go shopping?
Probably Tops.
Okay.
Tops was the only grocery store then. Publix was in
Did
there.
you drive a car when you were a boy, or how'd you do
When
it?
I got 16, I was driving a car, yeah.
And then you went to the grocery store for your mother?
Yeah.
Didn't you go to Slip Goes?
Yeah, Slip Goes and the other ones she went to.
Yeah, by the way, back then when Mr. Jeckovich was a boy, for $15 you could fill up every cupboard and all your refrigerators. Now the price is ridiculous for everything.
20 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it was very reasonable prices back then, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you do all the shopping for your mother?
By her myself?
Yeah.
No, I would go with her.
And
She usually went to Canada. They thought
why would she go to Canada?
she thought the prices were cheaper and better.
And where